everyone. Sarah here from the Projector movement, and I'm excited to be joined for this podcast and video with the founder of the Projector movement, Charlie McGinnis. Hi, Charlie.
Hello, Sarah. It is great to be here on the podcast as well as the video. Really grateful to be here with you today.
Awesome. So today we thought it would be worthwhile to discuss what can sometimes be a stressful time for everybody, let alone projectors, which is the holiday season. As you know, this is a time where stress levels are high, expectations are high. We have perhaps dinners and events with family and friends and work, and our projector system can be quite overrun, quite overtaxed. And we wanted to come forth today and just share with you 6 tips that can help you, if you're listening to this and our projector, can help you stay in greater alignment during the most wonderful time of the year, which for us, I don't know if it actually is, but nonetheless, here we are. So, Charlie.
Yes, Sarah. I am still here.
You're still here. That's a good thing. Do you have anything you want to say about that, or do you want to just dive into what we want to tell everybody right now about how to prepare for this season in a good way?
I would say ultimately projectors, as we know, we're quite sensitive and we take in a lot from our environment. So coming up to holiday season, there's maybe a lot to take in, or in the past, we've taken in maybe more than actually was respectable for our system. So therefore, I'm excited to share these tips and with you, Sarah, because we can share and support projectors moving into holiday season. And some projectors will be feeling a bit of anxiety. Some will be feeling like, oh, I've just got to get through this. And ideally, we can have fun. Ideally, we're surrounded by family, friends. And if we're not, and we're surrounded by ourselves, then, we give to ourselves as well. So ideally, this season is a season of joy and love. And we're excited to share these tips to support that process, because both of our journeys, we have found what works and how we can actually move into that in a more supportive and nourishing way.
Beautiful.
So there are 6 tips, and let's begin with tip number 1. Many of you have probably heard me talk about the pause or pausing. Some of you may practice this. And this is literally like moving throughout the day. Let's say your day was like a music song. And if you pause the song, you literally pause the energy of the day. So you could be reading a book, washing the dishes, watching TV. You could be speaking to someone on the phone, whatever it is. And you actually, rather than running from one thing to the next, you actually stop and pause. And this is something that allows the nervous system to come back to itself, because our energy as projectors and our aura is designed to go outward so we can guide our environment. Sometimes that's a bit of a catch-22 because we can get stuck. It's like we're Velcro, and we get stuck on the outside, and we forget to take the Velcro off a situation, off another person, actually bring it back onto ourselves. So the pause is a necessity to bring yourself back home. And an example of this would be if you're at a holiday gathering and you've been there for 90 minutes, you've talked to 5 different people, and you actually say, hey, I'm actually going to go to the bathroom. And you remove yourself, and even if you don't need to go to the bathroom, you just go there for 5 minutes, you breathe, or you go for a walk around the block, or you touch your feet on the ground, or something where you pause the energy and come back to yourself. It sounds simple. It's actually quite challenging for us projectors and our nervous system to do that when we're outside connected. So that is tip one.
Thank you. Yeah. And I will just add this as well. You talk so much about our sensitivity and us really absorbing the environment, why we need to pause and break from that. Remember that during the holiday season, we're absorbing everyone else's heightened nervous system as well. Everyone in the holidays, most people, family members, friends are carrying also a heightened stress. So if you naturally are already taking pauses throughout the day, we suggest double the amount of pauses for this upcoming season, because we're also absorbing everyone else's heightened energy as well. So that tip is really, really useful. And I agree, it's harder than it sounds, especially when you're pulled into that excitable or stressful energy. It can be hard to just stop it in process. So we invite you to try.
And I'm sorry to tell you, Sarah, I'm just going to take a pause.
Do it.
I'll just have a breath. Just a little pause. That was a little bit of a joke, but that's serious. That's how you can actually implement it. You can bring it in any situation and you come back to yourself.
Amazing. Thank you. So I'm going to be going into the next tip. And this is, for those who know me, knows this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, which is boundaries. And boundaries can be interpreted in many ways, but for the sake of this call, this topic, boundaries we're going to be talking about in this sense of being able to assess a time that you're going to be at places. It gives you a more relaxed experience if you know you've committed to an event, perhaps for an hour and a half versus the whole night. So in terms of boundaries, know that you have the ability to stay at places for as long as you want. And also, if you're noticing yourself become more stimulated or feeling too stressed, give yourself that permission to also leave. That is really, really important. We can get hooked into the event and feel so excited we're being there, or if we feel so triggered because there's family members around that we're stressed out about, or just the energy is not typically super supportive for the projector nature. So again, the second tip is to commit to events, perhaps for to commit to, oh my gosh, I can't say it, to commit to events with a time restraint around it that perhaps you agree upon with the host ahead of time. So it's not this weird thing that they think you're leaving early or whatnot, that you've already set it up for yourself to stay for a less amount of time than the party maybe goes for.
Yes, that's a great point. And I personally do that one at times. I say, I'll come for 2 hours or I'll come for 3 hours. And that shifts and changes depending on the season and things. But that is a really beautiful one. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And then I'll go right into the next one, because this is also one of the biggest boundaries that we can implement. But the third tip is to say no, which is the no is the best boundary projectors have, because when we say no to someone else, we are saying yes to ourselves and our needs. And that's an area that projectors have a more difficult time typically, is expressing their own needs and desires. So if there is an event, and use your authority to make the decision. If you got invited to a holiday event and it starts to make you feel in the moment stressed, perhaps you say no. And I know that can feel really hard, but I really implore you to try to do more no's than you're comfortable with this holiday season, and watch the health of your projector system flourish when you actually go to things that truly feel aligned with you, and you put a boundary up around things that don't feel good to you. And that doesn't even mean events, that can also be phone calls with people. So anything where you're starting to feel stressed or not good about, that is your biggest invitation to say no, or to give a very specific time increment of how long you will engage in that situation. Because when we are stressed, we are depleting ourselves 20 times quicker than any of the other types. And that's because that should be your most important thing you think about when committing to any holiday events.
And some of you listening to this and hearing saying no, I think for a lot of projectors, the no is a bit of a shadow, and you're not aware of it so much. You don't know actually whether you say no or not. It's like this sort of elusive thing. And actually, most projectors hardly ever say no. And it's something that I feel like we all actually need to stand up for, and stand up for the aspect of ourselves that is a younger aspect and maybe didn't actually have the opportunity to say no as a 3-year-old, as a 4-year-old. And it's it's been a deep experience for me as I've experienced those aspects, going back to younger aspects of myself and realizing that, yeah, I didn't feel like I could ever actually say that. So how does my now adult self, still carrying that younger aspect, still doesn't feel, oh, I can't say no, because that's just inbuilt into my system. So as Sarah said, like, we really need to do that and go above and beyond over what you think often, because it'll actually be probably still less than what your system actually wants. And it might feel like, wow, I'm saying no so much, but it's actually just you standing up for yourself. So that one is a very important point.
And I want to say this just because it's so important. There's many reasons projectors have a hard time saying no. One of them is that we feel the other person's disappointment. It's actually, we feel it's our projector nature to feel that. And a lot of us have been naturally conditioned by life to then fix that feeling in the other person. And so I just want to say right now that someone else's uncomfortable feelings are not your responsibility to tend to. And if someone is hurt or pushing back or upset that you're saying no, that's between them and their own emotions. And just know that it will be uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good for us naturally to let people down. I don't want to let that uncomfortable feeling that you'll get initially for that to stop you from implementing that no.
Talk about a big part of the deconditioning process, going into our own emotions deeply and then disentangling that from another as well.
Yes.
Very important point. Thanks for sharing. Number 4 is something that many of you have probably heard me talk about as well, is the functional range. So this is the nervous system's functional range. And when we're inside this range, we often feel decently relaxed, engaged, grounded, socially open. It doesn't mean we need to be socially over the top, but there's just an ability to be social. And this means our nervous system is in its range. Because we're overly sensitive, because we've absorbed a lot of things. A lot of projectors' range is actually very small and will be outside that range a lot, which will mean we'll be burnt out, we'll be stressed, we'll be overwhelmed, we'll be doing anxiety in our system, or there'll be lots happening. And we need to notice when we're inside and when we're outside. And coming into holiday season, even just thinking about that for some projectors will put you outside of your functional range. And you'll all of a sudden start to get some head pressure, start to get a headache, start to get a little sweaty, start to tighten the shoulders, clamp the stomach, whatever it is. That means you're in some form of fight, flight, freeze, and the body's actually in fear of what is potentially coming, and we're outside of our range. When we are outside of our range, our number one goal as projectors, because we work more on a vibrational level, which is working deeply with the nervous system, is going to be how do we move back inside our functional range? Now, because this is just a video and a podcast, um, there's deep ways to do that, but it's initially just about you realizing, oh, I'm feeling a bit stressed or I'm a bit outside of my range here. I notice my shoulders tensing, my jaws tensing, whatever it is. What can I do? What simple thing can I do to bring myself back? We can employ the pause. We can do a boundary. We can say no. The things that we've actually already shared will help that. We can go touch our feet on the ground. We can have a salt bath. We can go for a walk. We can get off technology. There's all these things that can slowly pull us back. We can shake our body, whatever it is for you. And you'll notice, like, I'm actually landing back in my body. I'm coming back home. And this is important. Most projectors don't even know when they're outside of their functional range. And then they speak from that place, they take action from that place, and that puts them even further outside of their functional range. And many might be out for days, weeks, months, years. So starting to notice, I'm going to come back. I'm going to start slowing down. I'm going to start returning back home.
I want to give two little nuggets of information that apply to this. And I'm going to actually do a whole separate podcast coming up talking about this more. But because this is the holidays and I want to give a little bonus here.
Is this like a golden nugget or what's this?
Pretty gold nuggets. And
Oh,
it's
here we go.
fascinating information.
Here we go.
I've been studying various states that projectors do that put our bodies into that dysregulated nervous system or into dysregulation, which what you're saying, out of our functional range. And the two biggest ones that are going to appear for all of us projectors in the holiday season is either you're going to be doing perfectionism or you're going to be doing people pleasing. And these are two states that like I said, we're going to introduce this more in more detail, but I wanted to just plant that seed that if you see yourself trying to make everything perfect, or you're seeing yourself trying to take care of everyone else's needs, that is a huge warning sign that you're operating from a dysregulated place, that those states are actually a byproduct of a fear response, which we don't need to get into that so much. The golden nugget that I want you to know is take a look and notice if during this season you start to see yourself trying to make everything perfect, everything, we need to stop that. And if we're going into total people pleasing mode, that is going to throw us out of that functional range. So I just wanted to offer that.
Thank you for the gold.
Yes.
And that will be confusing for many projectors if they've done those people pleasing or perfectionism their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You actually start to believe that that is you. So you're actually like, no, I'm actually fine. I feel fine. But the deconditioning process, that is a big part of that, disentangling these nervous system patterns that are deeply embedded because we've absorbed so much from actually what is our full truth, what is our soul's unfolding. And that can be a very interesting journey when you think that something is you and it's actually a state, a program running that actually isn't. It's more in survival.
That those states we do, it was a survival strategy when we were a young age to try to fit into this generating world. And so again, if that totally went over your head, my apologies. I just wanted to give those little nuggets for what is more to come about how we're really going to be able to understand ourselves as projectors.
Beautiful. Number 5, giving to yourself. So as projectors, once again, you'll see that all these are sort of tying in, and there's a common thread running throughout each. But giving to yourself as we move out into holiday season, some of us projectors, if we overdo our boundaries out of our functional range, it's like, oh, I just have to get through this season and I just have to like do what other people want me to do. Of course, I have to go to that event for 8 hours. Of course, I have to do this. Of course, I have to do that. So the holiday is more about others, your thinking and feeling. And yes, community, family, love, is a big part of it. But also it's like, well, how about I give to myself, because this holiday is also for myself. So you actually take time for yourself to refuel, to recharge, so you can move into 2023 more grounded, more in alignment, more yourself than ever before. And if you just deplete yourself throughout holiday season and then you go into 2023 feeling like that, that is going to be a big place where bitterness can come up because you've missed this opportunity. So giving to yourself can be many things. It can be a deep breath. It can be getting a massage. It can be walking in nature. It can be taking yourself to a movie. It can be buying yourself a bunch of roses, whatever it is, but actually pulling the energy back inside as well.
Definitely. So the last tip that we have is to remember and know that you're a projector. And what that means, what I mean by that is to remember when you are going, if I think there's going to be two groups of projectors that completely hide away during the holidays and they're not coming out, it's their hibernation, or ones that are still going and acting like a generator through the holidays and then getting kind of wonky because it's too much. Wherever you're at, remember you're a projector. So I first and foremost want to say, because we're projectors, try to embody the essence of play through the holiday season, even if it's you playing with yourself, a favorite old toy, or if it's you playing with your nieces and nephews or grandkids or children, that you remember that that's ultimately what your birthright is to play. And this is a beautiful time of year to call in that frequency of joy and play, however that is for you, wherever you're at. If you are of the group that are going to be more social, going to work events, family events, friend events, these sorts of things, tip to the wise, pull your energy back in these places if you want to truly be seen. So if you're coming in telling everybody about this and this and this is when we tend to burn a lot of energy and a lot of people aren't actually receiving us in the way we want to be received. So it's a beautiful time to actually sit back and relax into the chair and let the conversations come towards you and let your inner projector nature radiate out, trusting that that is such a loud form of communication. That way you're preserving energy, and that the people that are coming towards you, life is letting you know that they're genuinely interested and want to hear about you because they're asking you. And as always, if we leave places with tails between our legs because we have all the tips and it's impossible at this time, that's okay too, because it's really hard. I just want to normalize the high stress season. We are going to go over our max. We are going to say things. It's okay just to know we're learning and to set this up as an expectation of a possibility, and that we're thinking of you and wishing you a joyful, playful time, however you celebrate these last 2 months of the year.
And when you go to an event, maybe listen to this podcast again or this video again and actually see, oh, what did I miss there? Or how could I have taken better care of my energy and my projectedness in that environment? Because we do need to continually remind ourselves how to move more and more into alignment.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all from me.
That's all from me too. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a beautiful rest of the day wherever you are.
Bye, everyone.